Hey, the weekend's over. What do you say, everybody? It is Monday, January 20. Great to see you today. And welcome to this next 3 hours of the news of the day, your calls, your comments, our good guests. We'll cover it all on this Martin Luther King birthday 2014. Taking time out, of course, to celebrate the great man's life and legacy and his mission and the contribution he made to this country. We were still inspired by his leadership and reminded again today that his cause was not only the cause of civil rights, but the cause of economic justice. And he was in Memphis That weekend, he was killed to support the striking sanitation workers down there. President Obama gave his big speech on NSA on Friday, long anticipated. He admitted that the government was way out of line in collecting all this phone data on every phone call made in this country. And yet he said, we're still going to collect the data. We're just not going to leave it with the government. We'll put it somewhere else to be determined. And, of course, the president also still refused to give Edward Snowden any credit whatsoever. Christie facing new charges from the mayor of Hoboken that he withheld Hurricane Sandy relief funds from her city because she would not support a development project that he wanted. And the Super Bowl may be played in the East, but both teams are coming from the West. The Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks meeting in Secaucus, New Jersey on February 2nd after the two big games yesterday. We got lots to talk about here this Monday morning. Already a busy Monday morning, but we need to hear from you at 866-55-PRESS, on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at Facebook.com/BillPressShow.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach
likes
your
you.
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Happy Martin Luther King birthday. Here we go. MLK birthday 2014. Good morning, everybody. Great to see you today. I hope you had a great weekend. It is Monday, January 20. For those of you lucky enough to have Martin Luther King birthday off, enjoy the day. For those of you for whom, like us, it's just another work day, still take time out to recognize the tremendous contribution Martin Luther King has made to this country and to the world, and we certainly honor his memory today and rededicate ourselves to the causes that were his, the cause of civil rights, certainly the cause of economic justice as well. Monday morning, January 20, here we go, coming to you live from our nation's capital, our studio on Capitol Hill. The Senate is out, the House is out, but damn it, we're here and bring you the up-to-date on all the news of the day, whatever happened over the weekend, from football to the movies to the president's big speech on NSA, and, of course, give you a chance. You've been bottling it up all weekend, eager to talk about it. Well, now's your chance. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. What do you say, team? Peter Ogburn. Hello, hello.
Hey. Happy Monday.
Everything good?
Good, yes, indeed.
Here we go. Lisa Murphy, good morning.
Good morning.
And Alicia Cruz there, standing by. She will be right there to take your phone calls. There she is, right? And Cyprian Balding here as well. Everybody kind of tuckered out from watching all the big football games last night.
It's big football day yesterday. Yeah.
Big games.
It was indeed, yeah. I actually, in the spirit of things, watched, me, I'm not a big sports fan, but I watched parts of both games. Yeah, was really disappointed in the Patriot-Broncos.
The Denver New England
Broncos
game was pretty boring.
I mean, I wanted the Patriots to win, but I especially wanted a good game.
Right.
It was pretty one-sided.
Yeah.
I got to tell you. Now, Peyton Manning,
You just sort of get this idea that this is Peyton Manning's year. He had a record-setting year on many different levels.
I don't know. From what I saw yesterday, man, if I were putting money on the Super Bowl, it'd be on the Broncos.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so the Broncos won yesterday, and then you had the Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
The Seahawks won.
Right. So what it means is you get the game at home, you win.
Yeah, basically.
Home field advantage.
So it's Denver and Seattle in the Super Bowl, which a lot of people have pointed out.
The two cities that allow pot.
Yeah.
Legalize pot.
The marijuana
right.
There might be something to that.
The Ganja Bowl.
They should have it in one of those cities. Can you imagine if they had it in either city?
Super Bowl parties are going to be...
There would be this cloud.
Yes, exactly.
The haze.
Over the field. And the players would be loving each other, hugging each other.
Exactly.
Where's the aggression?
Yeah.
It would be a different kind of Super Bowl.
They start playing touch football.
Now, the Super Bowl, of course, is only the runner-up to the Winter Olympics.
That's right.
But Vladimir Putin, there's worries that people will not be treated fairly in Sochi, particularly LGBT members of the LGBT community. And Vlad, over the weekend, through a translator, says nothing to worry about.
It has nothing to do with persecuting people for their non-traditional orientation.
No.
In this country, everybody is absolutely equal to anybody else, irrespective of one's religion, sex, ethnicity, or sexual orientation.
Just the phrase non-traditional orientation makes you not trust Putin.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know in Russia, everybody's treated equally, right? Yeah, there's nothing to worry about. It doesn't matter. And now let's see. Well, what's Edward Snowden going to do for the Olympics, or what might be allowed to? Putin says, "Hey, he's got the same opportunity everybody else has."
Mr. Snowden is subject to the treatment of provisional asylum here in Russia. He has a right to travel freely across the country. He has no special limitation. He can just buy a ticket and come here.
Just go buy a ticket.
Sure.
Hey, man, you want to see some games? Buy a ticket.
Come on.
Like everybody else.
Yeah. How funny is that? How funny would it be if he actually showed up?
Oh, my God. Yeah. You would think that maybe they'd give him a couple of tickets.
Maybe. Boy, that would be... Those NBC cameras, I don't know what they do with him.
Man,
in the stands.
They would go wild indeed. Hey, lots coming up. Kevin Cirilli from Politico will be joining us a little bit later in this hour. We will be joined by Evan McMorris-Santoro from BuzzFeed, one of my buddies down at the White House. He'll be here as a friend of Bill. And then we'll go to the movies with Ann Hornaday from the Washington Post and cover the big games yesterday and other sports issues with Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports. All of that coming up. And President Obama with a very far-reaching interview to the New Yorker magazine, making a lot of news. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Bow Bow, the panda, made her debut this weekend at the National Zoo. You could go and meet the panda for the very first time.
Very exciting.
5 months old. The zoo even extended their hours, so if you wanted to go, I didn't go, but I can imagine that the lines there were pretty long. So
yeah, we didn't go either, but we'll be there in a couple of weeks. But but they had a big crowd yesterday.
We will go check it out.
And apparently, she was in good form, slept a lot. Yeah.
But you get a chance to be either outside or inside. So at the National Zoo, go check it out. The SAG Awards took place this weekend.
Or go to the Panda Cam.
Oh, the Panda Cam. You can also check out the Panda Cam. No, that's right.
No matter where you are in this country, go to the Panda Cam, and you can...
Considering we have a
any
polar
time
vortex
of day, by
coming
the way.
later this week, you might not want to go wait in those long lines outside, so you can just check out the Panda Cam. Good idea, Bill. The SAG Awards took place this weekend. The top prize was SAG by... American Hustle.
No.
Yes,
really?
Indeed. Bradley Cooper represented the film's co-stars. He accepted the award and praised the film's director, David O. Russell, during the opportunity. He said he is an actor's director. So several big wins for American Hustle at the SAG Awards.
Bradley Cooper's great. I think.
He really is.
Really good.
He really is. And Jesus may have come again. A Salvadorian nun says she had no idea she was pregnant. Well, she gave birth in Italy this week.
A nun?
A nun gave birth in Italy this week. She said she had no idea she was pregnant. 31 years young, she felt stomach cramps when she was in her convent and was taken to the hospital, where the hospital took a look at her and said, "Lady, you're about to give birth." She gave birth to a healthy 7-pound baby boy. Mother and baby are both doing well. She hasn't said whether or not she had relations to create a baby, but that is typically how these things happen.
It's the Immaculate Conception.
Yes, just a little bit late for Christmas, I guess, but almost there.
Did an angel come to her and say, "Whoa"?
Yeah, I could have been some guy named Angel. Who knows?
Unheld.
Yeah, who knows?
We'd better look into this.
Yeah.
I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She gave birth in Rome?
In Italy, yeah.
In Italy.
Yeah. She's from Salvador. And then she kept it hid. Nobody knew. She didn't know. The other nuns didn't know.
Well, I have to say, if you're wearing one of those nun outfits...
They're very forgiving.
You could hide a lot.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. 14 minutes after the hour. Yes, indeed. The New Yorker this week. David Remnick, who's took over the New Yorker from Tina Brown, she did a great job with it. He has done a phenomenal job, I think, with the New Yorker. We talked about last week's cover of Christie as a little boy playing ball in the middle of the George Washington Bridge while all the traffic was held up. I've said before, the New Yorker many times. The New Yorker has the best writing in this country. I think today is found in the New Yorker, and the New York Review of Books, but particularly the New Yorker. And this week, David Remnick has a long interview with President Obama. Very, very interesting, and he says lots of things that you're going to want to comment on. I know. Remnick interviewed the president for hours in the Oval Office and a couple of times on Air Force One. So he had basically unparalleled access to the president for this interview. Remnick's a very, very good writer and a very thoughtful guy. So the president, here are a few of the things that he touched on. He made a lot of news. The president said, the big thing the president did, of course, on Friday was his NSA speech, and we'll get to that a little bit later here in our program this morning. But in this interview, David Remnick, first thing he said, he talked about football. And he said, of course, he loves to watch football, and he watches the NFL But he is still concerned about this problem with concussions. And if he had a son, he said, he would not let him play. Wouldn't let him play football.
Yeah,
very interesting.
I think it's a fascinating sort of way to have this conversation about what's going on in the NFL.
Right.
Because I've had this conversation. We have 2 kids, 2 boys, and they've asked about playing football, and they haven't showed that much interest. We have gotten to the point of where we're actually talking about it.
Yeah.
And I used to say, yeah, of course they can play football. Of course they can play football.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, I've started to come around and say, yeah, I don't know that I'd push that. I don't know that I'd let them do that.
You may remember that we had a young intern at one time by the name of Ben Schenk from San Diego, who actually appeared on the show as a guest one time, way years back. Remember?
Yep.
Well, Ben Schenk was in town over the weekend from New York. He now lives in New York. And we had dinner with him last night, and we were talking about this, and he said that he played football in high school, and his mother was just totally against it, and he really wanted to play. So they said, we'll get a doctor's opinion. They went to a doctor, and the doctor said, play football. Football is less dangerous than soccer. That's what he told him.
Wow.
And his reasoning was, he said, as a doctor, I can tell you, we treat more broken bones from soccer than we do from football.
Yeah.
The doctor was crazy.
Yeah.
He wasn't thinking about the problems to the head. Yeah,
it's the long term.
You don't want to have either one, but you could have a broken ankle or a broken leg, and you could still have a long life. Right. These football.
And you
players.
also don't see the impact of a lot of these football things until years later.
Yeah. So the president said if he had a son, he would not let my son play pro football, he said. But he said he watches the games because these guys know what they're doing. He also told David Remnick that he is going to be writing his memoir once he's out of office. And a publisher, literary agent, Andrew Wiley, is working with him. Wiley predicts that the president will get $17 to $20 million for his memoir. That's before he sells one book. He'll get 17 just to write it. And by the way, the First Lady is already working on her memoir, so she's getting an early start.
Good for them.
The president. The other thing that kind of made news, the president said he and the First Lady are doing more entertaining now that the girls are older. Have a little more leeway, they're having more friends over. That Malia has her heart set on becoming a filmmaker as her career. That's what she wants to do with her. Now, who knows? That can easily change.
I was afraid it was a marine biologist. That's usually whatever.
15 or whatever. Yeah. He has been meeting a lot lately with presidential historians. I know I had a couple of meetings with, but apparently he's doing this on a regular basis now, with some of the people he admires, Doris Kearns Goodwin and Robert Caro and others coming in and just talking about what the presidency is all about, what his legacy might be about. I mean, he's obviously kind of realizing this is coming toward the end of his term. And so how's my presidency going to be judged? And he's talking to presidential historians about that. And then maybe the biggest news he made was on talking about marijuana. And he said that as far as he is concerned, marijuana is no more dangerous than alcohol. And he is not concerned about the effect of drug laws on minorities and the poor. That he is most concerned about the effect of drug laws on minorities and the poor. He says, quote, middle-class kids don't get locked up for smoking pot, and poor kids do. And he supports efforts by Colorado and Washington State to go forward on legalization and decriminalization. For the president to say, hey, have a beer, have a joint, no difference. That is a radical step forward. I mean, we've talked about this before. We are moving so fast in this country in our attitude toward marijuana. It's crazy. Most people now support it. What did we say last week? 62% of people in Washington, D.C. favor legalization. And overall, nationwide, it's gone up like 20 points in the last couple of years. And I think it's It's a majority of Americans now favor legalization, not just in Colorado and Washington, across the board. And we've got states like Rhode Island, Maine, New Hampshire last week that are all considering legalization.
There's also this time, like when Bill Clinton said that, I smoked, but I didn't inhale, which was a silly answer. But the fact that he even sort of went there and said that he tried, that people thought that was the most radical thing they'd ever heard.
Oh, yeah.
These days, people don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. You could be president and say, pot's not that bad for you.
Yeah.
And people won't freak out.
Now, I told you, when I ran for office, and I got a call from a reporter, and he said, I'm asking all the candidates whether or not you ever smoked pot, and you have, I'll give you 24 hours to come back and give me your answer. And I said, yes. And he said, no, I'm giving you, I said, I don't need 24 hours. That's my answer. And I told him, I said, I wouldn't trust any politician my age.
Yes.
Who said he'd never smoked pot.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, you mean some nerd, right? So, President Obama, there he is on football. I would not let my son play pro football. On pot, it's no more dangerous than alcohol. Unless you're going to ban alcohol, he said you should not be banning marijuana. And since alcohol is legal, the president seems to be saying marijuana ought to be legal. I'd read into that everywhere in the country, and he would support it. How about you? 866-55-PRESS. President giving us lots to chew on this Monday morning here on Martin Luther King's birthday.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour, talking about President Obama's wide-ranging interview with David Remnick from The New Yorker, in which he said, among other things, he would not let his son, if he had one, play professional football, and he also said that he believes pot is no more dangerous than marijuana. 866-55-PRESS, you know the number. Peter, quickly?
Just one quick comment on the fact that the president said he wouldn't let his son play football if he had a son. NC Nomad says, after middle school football, I only allowed my son to play baseball. So would let them play football in in grade school, and then when they got to a little bit older, then they just played baseball.
How about Vic in Malta, Illinois? Vic, what do you say? Good morning.
I say that people need to start really hearing about all the miracles of medical marijuana. I received one of them miracles about 9 years ago. I had heart surgery and I went blind. And the only thing that would expand the blood vessels in my eyes, the way it was explained to me, was medical marijuana. I now go to work every day and I can see, well, my right eye works, my left eye is pretty much gone. But I wouldn't be working or doing anything without illegally using medical marijuana.
Well, good for you, and thank you for telling that story. But there are many, many miracle stories about medical marijuana. But now, Vic, we've moved on to, medical marijuana ought to be in all 50 states. Now we're moving on to legalization for recreational use of marijuana. And why not?
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Well, what do you say? 34 minutes after the hour. It is Monday, January 20, Martin Luther King birthday, a federal holiday for federal employees, for a lot of state employees, and for banks. They're closed. Post office is closed. For the rest of us, it's a work day. And we're talking about a big interview that President Obama gave where he covered a whole wide range of topics with David Remnick from the New Yorker, who's the editor of the New Yorker, interviewed the president in the Oval Office several times, and also flew with him on Air Force One on more than one flight, and covered the waterfront for sure. Most of the news is about a president's comments on professional football and for marijuana, saying he would not let one of his sons play professional football, and he didn't feel that marijuana was any more dangerous or any more of a problem than alcohol. The only problem is that the poor and minorities get arrested if they're found with marijuana. Middle-class kids can usually get off. Interestingly enough, on Syria, the president also said that he's haunted by what is happening in Syria, the civil war now going on for more than 3 years. But, he added, it's very difficult to imagine a scenario in which our involvement in Syria would have led to a better outcome. Some people might dispute that. without putting boots on the ground, maybe if we had given the rebels early on some more significant help, they might have been able to turn the tide in Syria. And now it looks like the tide is running in favor of Bashar al-Assad. What do you say? Peter, Charleston, South Carolina is a good town, right?
Yes, indeed.
It's always fun to go back to Charleston, especially fun when we can say hello to Ike. Good morning, Ike.
Hey, good morning. Well, real quick, I got a message for Peter, but on the marijuana thing, I think besides the demographic switch in the voters, the younger voters, I think parents are just sick and tired of seeing their kids going to jail and getting their records marked up over a little bit of pot. It's ridiculous. It needs to change, and it needs to change in a hurry.
And a public attitude in this is changing so fast, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Now, have you been keeping track of Peter's comings and goings?
I haven't been down to Charleston in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've got a direct message from Flossie May for Peter, and I quote. She said, "Tell Peter Rodman that I came into some money, and not only did I get my tooth bleached and got the new tattoo, but I also am enrolled with Bosley, and I'm going to get that little bald patch fixed on the back of my head."
Oh, good for her! That's good to hear that she's doing well.
It's nice to know.
Thanks for delivering that.
It's Peter. You have your own agent in Charleston. It's nice.
Yeah, I'm glad she got that tooth taken care of. That's starting to worry me. Thanks, Ike.
On the Obama interview, Peter Rodman. Cassandra out in Milwaukee. Hello, Cassandra. Good morning. Cassandra, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Turn your radio down, please. Turn your radio down. Otherwise, it'll just be real confusing. What do you? Okay. So what do you have to say, Cassandra?
Hi, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. Turn your radio down, please.
You don't happen to live in Colorado or Washington State, do you?
I turned it down.
All right, thank you. So what's going on?
I want to comment on the president talking about marijuana and the middle class and the poor. The three branches of the higher government had no thought or concern about what's going on with the middle class and the poor as far as marijuana. If you are poor and you smoke marijuana, you're going to jail. That's why it's so crowded. People smoke or even sell, whatever it is. But again, as far as smoking, the middle class, they do get away with it, and the poor go to jail.
That's exactly the problem and the reality the president was talking about, Cassandra. Yeah, and it is true. There's a two-tiered system of justice, no doubt about it. It's unfair, and if you look at the people who are in prison for, in our jails for nonviolent crimes, most of them are going to be members of the minority or the poor, not the wealthy or the middle class. They can afford the big lawyers to get them off. Absolutely. Good to hear from you, Cassandra. Thanks for your call. In Chico, California experiencing this drought. Hello, Mark. Good morning.
Hey, Bill. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. What's going on?
Hey, first of all, I got to say something about this 49er game. There's some non calls on that game, running into the kicker on the plant foot and pass interference holding. I'm upset about that, but
49er fan has a lot to complain about today. There were genuinely some botched.
There were some bad calls. I saw a couple of them.
And by the way, there were some bad calls on both sides. I'm not saying that the officials lost the game for the 49ers, but yeah, you've got a reason to be a little annoyed.
Yeah.
But the Navarro Bowman catch too, that was really bad.
Yeah, there were some botched calls. So you have a right to be tweaked.
All right. What else, Mark?
Hey, I agree with the president. I'm a disabled Vietnam veteran, and I've been smoking pot for many years. I got 2 kids, and they don't, and that's fine with me. And VA doesn't mind if I smoke pot, and I don't feel that it's really jeopardized me. At least I haven't been arrested and thrown in jail.
Where do you get it, Mark?
I buy it at a clinic.
Oh, so you're a medical marijuana, right?
You betcha.
Yeah. Okay.
But you can't own a gun when you have a medical marijuana card. So,
yeah, because you know how violent you get when you're high. Is you just start itching for a gun.
That's true. I'm looking for the munchies, of course. But,
Right. Yeah, get drunk and carry a gun all you want.
Yeah.
As far as the poor and the middle class, we got to stop shipping our jobs overseas. This is getting disgusting. We're becoming a third world country.
Absolutely. So, Mark, have you had any pot this morning?
No. I don't smoke it every day.
Oh, okay. All right. No, I was just wondering.
Out of curiosity, how often do you smoke?
A couple times a week.
Okay.
Yeah, just when I'm really in pain. So I can't walk anymore, unfortunately.
Well, Mark, we in California have had at least two opportunities on the ballot to make marijuana legal. And each time it has failed barely. Last time it almost passed. So I think we're going to get another chance, Mark. I mean, I've long supported medical marijuana, but I think it's now time to move up like Washington State and Colorado and make it legal in California. And we'll get a chance to do that. Okay, Mark, take care of yourself out there. Good to...
hey, have a great day, Bill.
All right, you too. A lot of good friends in Chico. Good to hear from just west of Sacramento there. The little town that often gets lost.
I've heard that California has some pretty decent marijuana that they grow out there. I've heard.
That's what I've heard, too.
That's what you've heard?
Yeah.
You've been out there a time or two.
How would I know?
Yeah.
I don't know. With the drought, might be a little problem
That's right.
there. Yeah. That's the real problem with the drought. Yeah, exactly. It is a serious problem. 3 years now of the drought and no snowpack this year. And boy, the fire situation in California is going to be really, really grim. When we come back, Kevin Cirilli with the news of the day from Politico, good friend of the program, will be joining us. And we'll continue to look forward to hearing from you at 866-55-PRESS on a Monday morning, January 20.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing done. I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
on your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, with Congress out of town, President Obama making a lot of news over the weekend with his speech Friday on NSA reforms and with his interview with David Remnick in the New Yorker magazine on a lot of different issues. We've been talking about his comments on pot and on professional football. Whatever's happening here in our nation's capital at the White House or the Congress, Kevin Cirilli from Politico is on top of it, joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Kevin, good morning. Good Monday morning.
Good morning. Happy MLK Day.
Happy MLK Day. Did you have a good weekend?
I did. I actually went skiing for the first time in my life, and I fell, but I survived, and I came back in one piece.
Wait a minute. First time in your life you went skiing?
Exactly. Yeah. People growing up outside of Philly were not big skiers.
Well,
yeah, I went.
So where are you? In Colorado or Utah?
No. I'm actually outside of Pittsburgh right now.
And so this is a place where they made snow, right? No?
Yes, they did. They made snow just for me, Bill.
Here's the real question. Will you ever go skiing again?
You know, I think I would. I'm a little reluctant, but I think I would.
I've been skiing once, and I hated it so much I'll never go back.
Really?
It's just not for me.
Okay.
I grew up in South Carolina. We don't grow up skiing. So I went when I was like 18.
Are you talking water skiing?
I did water skiing, but snow skiing is not for me.
Yeah. All right. So listen, Kevin, a lot of anticipation, a lot of build-up for the president's speech on Friday on the NSA. What did you think the impact was overall? I mean, is it the major shakeup of NSA that some people were hoping for?
I'm not sure it was the major shakeup of the NSA that most critics were hoping for. That being said, it was definitely a monumental speech coming from President Obama. He announced, of course, a huge shakeup with some of the programs of his controversial policies. But already, folks on the far left and also the more libertarian-leaning folks in the Republican Party were saying immediately after that it just wasn't enough. This is a huge problem for the president, who largely ran as an anti-Iraq war candidate when he was first running for president.
Yeah, no, I have to tell you, the things he said, when he said, like, that collecting all this data, phone data, right, is a problem, and it really is interfering with people's right of privacy, and the government should not have all these records. I thought his language was good, but his actions were just sort of half-baked, I thought. So he said, we're going to still collect this data. It's just the government won't hold on to it. But we're not sure who's going to hold on to it because the phone companies don't want to hold on to all this data. So we'll let Eric Holder figure it out in 60 days, right?
Yeah, leave it all up to Eric Holder. I think that's a great... Go ahead.
And in other places he said, well, we'll let Congress figure it out, right? It was almost like he sees the problem, but he didn't know what to do with it.
Well, the last point that you made is something I'd want to touch on as well. I think to leave perhaps national security issues up to a Congress that has failed to really find any bipartisan footing outside of budget agreements, temporary budget agreements, mind you, I thought was an interesting point to say the least. But you're right. A lot of critics, it's like say one thing but do another. And he also said, and I think it should be highlighted, that while he would, leave some things up to Congress or Eric Holder, he also said that they would still be able to access folks' text messages and phone records if they needed to. And so, yes, while they are perhaps getting rid of the names of some of these programs, I think this culture that has been perpetuated, particularly in this post-9/11 world that we live in, will continue.
The other thing, one of the recommendations that the panel had made to him is that there should be maybe some more equitable way of deciding who the judges are on the FISA court. Right now, as you know, all the judges on the FISA court are appointed by the Chief Justice of the United States. So you got John Roberts putting all those judges, you know what political philosophy all of those judges are going to be, and they're just going to be a rubber stamp court for the NSA or for the intelligence agencies. No doubt about it.
No doubt about it. And when you look at even that internal review, I mean, this is a president who faced extraordinary pressure following the release from Edward Snowden and Julian Assange and all of this, which we spoke about last time on the program. And I think it's been really interesting to watch this dynamic between folks, again, in the libertarian-leaning thought like process, like Senator Rand Paul, and even more progressive candidates on the far left, kind of all unite in their criticism against the administration. And so this internal review, he had no other choice really but to kind of address these criticisms. I think that this is a huge, perhaps 2014 issue, because what better way, if you're in the Republican Party, to highlight big government and this big government argument than with a big brother argument.
Well, I think you're right. However, your mainstream Republicans still, like Mike Rogers, went out yesterday and suggesting for the first time that this has been said, that Edward Snowden was really maybe an agent of the Russian government, which is absurd. So I think, you've got the Pete Kings. They're the big defenders of the NSA. And Rand Paul, you're right, I think looks better and better with the questions that he's raising. So listen, you gotta recover from your ski injury, get back to town, and come back in studio with us. And thanks for getting up early for us this morning, Kevin. As always.
Of course, no worries. Thank you for having me. I'm a huge fan, and I'll see you soon, Bill.
All right, okay. Thanks, Kevin. Kevin Cirilli from Politico, Politico.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The latest campaign news at the top of the next hour from Cameron Joseph, the reporter for The Hill, and then Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports will be here in studio with us to talk about, among other things, the upcoming Super Bowl. Peter?
We talked during the holiday season about how Target had been subject to a cyber attack, and 70 million customers had their data
not just Target
breached.
though.
And it wasn't just Target, it was Neiman Marcus, other companies. Well, they found out the source of this malware that people had gotten that was infecting and taking their personal information. It was a program written by a 17-year-old Russian child.
No. Really?
That's where this all came from. It was a Russian boy, 17 years old. He built this malware called Black POS, is what he called it. And that's the source of it.
And then is he the one that hacked?
He's not the one that specifically hacked into it. He
but
created the software that someone then got, and then this malware is the stuff that collected all the data. 17 years old.
There is no protection at all on the internet.
No.
Really?
It's not sitting out there, man.
Unbelievable. Whoa. All right, 2 more hours coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, the weekend's over. What do you say, everybody? It is Monday, January 20. Great to see you today. And welcome to this next 3 hours of the news of the day, your calls, your comments, our good guests. We'll cover it all on this Martin Luther King birthday 2014. Taking time out, of course, to celebrate the great man's life and legacy and his mission and the contribution he made to this country. We were still inspired by his leadership and reminded again today that his cause was not only the cause of civil rights, but the cause of economic justice. And he was in Memphis that weekend. He was killed to support the striking sanitation workers down there. President Obama gave his big speech on NSA on Friday, long anticipated. He admitted that the government was way out of line in collecting all this phone data on every phone call made in this country. And yet he said, we're still going to collect the data. We're just not going to leave it with the government. We'll put it somewhere else to be determined. And, of course, the president also still refused to give Edward Snowden any credit whatsoever. Christie facing new charges from the mayor of Hoboken that he withheld Hurricane Sandy relief funds from her city because she would not support a development project that he wanted. And the Super Bowl may be played in the East, but both teams are coming from the West. The Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks meeting in Secaucus, New Jersey on February 2nd. after the two big games yesterday. We got lots to talk about here this Monday morning. Already a busy Monday morning, but we need to hear from you at 866-55-PRESS, on Twitter at BP Show, and on Facebook at facebook.com/BillPressShow.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Martin Luther King's birthday, 2014. Happy MLK Day, everybody, and welcome to the program here. Welcome to the Bill Press Show this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend, a good chance to catch up on some great football. So-so football. At least one of the games was so-so. But you're ready to get back into the work week. Most of us are. Some people are lucky enough to have the day off. Whether you are just kicking back and relaxing or getting ready to go to work or already on your way or already there, welcome to the program. And thank you for joining us this Monday morning. Lots to talk about. President Obama's big speech on the NSA. Yes, the Pot Bowl, they're now calling the Super Bowl, with the teams from Seattle and Denver. I think there's a cause and effect here.
That's right.
I think very, very definitely a little breathing in those good fumes from the new legalized marijuana in both states help propel those teams to victory.
Let me just say this. If you go to a Super Bowl party in 2 weeks, be very careful of what you eat. Because if there's a tray of brownies out, don't just necessarily go and grab the brownies and start eating them. Because somebody might be celebrating this ganja bowl in a very special way.
I would say just get your hopes up. Yeah.
They're free.
How good of a host you're visiting.
Indeed. Anyhow, we'll tell you what's going on today and here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe, as we say, and give you a chance to comment on all of it and complain about it or celebrate it. 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. The team all here, Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy. Yes, indeed.
Hey.
Good morning. Happy Monday.
Off we go. Alicia Cruz there with the phones, ready to take your calls and screen those calls and get you on the air, in Cyprian Bolding. Keeping us looking good on Free Speech TV, because we're not only coming to you as your morning radio show on your local progressive talk radio station. You can catch the show on Free Speech TV. More and more of you do every day on the satellite dish, DirecTV or Dish Network, and on the video stream from all over the globe. People watching the video stream. We love it at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. The two big playoff games yesterday. First of all, the Patriots losing to the Broncos 26-16. The Broncos really dominated that game. Peyton Manning did an incredible job.
Yeah. He's a freak.
That was an sea of orange there in Dallas. Or in Denver, rather.
Yeah.
And then up in Seattle, it was the 49ers versus the Seahawks. Really good game, much closer game. And the 49ers had a chance to at least tie it up or go ahead right in the very last seconds of the game. Here's what happened.
Kaepernick looking, throws one to the near side for Crabtree. He leaps. It's batted up and intercepted. Intercepted in the end zone by Seattle. Richard Sherman denies the 49ers.
Denied the 49ers a chance. Really heartbreaker for the 49ers.
Yeah. Look, they have a very bright future, the 49ers. Russell Wilson and Colin Kaepernick, the two quarterbacks last night, are the future of the NFL. They are both so crazy good.
Yeah, really great. And Richard Sherman, who intercepted that pass, afterwards, he did not hesitate to brag about how good he is.
The final play, take me through it.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get. Don't you ever talk about me.
Who was talking about you?
Crabtree, don't you open your mouth about the best. Or I'm going to shut it for you real quick.
L.O.B. Don't you open your mouth about me. I'll shut it for you real quick. She wasn't attacking him. She was just saying, tell us about the play.
You've seen enough football to know that afterwards, look, this is a hard game. They were played great.
Yeah.
Man, I respect him as a competitor.
Oh, no.
Michael Crabtree is one of the greatest receivers playing football today.
Yeah.
And he's a sorry receiver. Dude.
Richard Sherman. All right, well.
And he's about to go face the best receiving team in the NFL in the Denver Broncos. I mean, Peyton Manning and his receivers have set all kinds of receiving records this year. So good luck, Richard Sherman.
Good luck at that, huh? Right. So coming up in this hour, we'll start out talking politics of the day. A lot's going on with Cameron Joseph, reporter for The Hill. Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports will be here. We'll talk more about the games with Travis. In the next hour, Evan McMorris-Santoro as a friend of Bill. In studio is a friend of Bill from BuzzFeed, and we'll go to the movies with Ann Hornaday from the Washington Post. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Shocking news, Bill.
Shocking.
Brace yourself. I don't know if you're ready for this one. Dennis Rodman has checked into rehab.
No.
Yes, indeed. Believe it or not.
In North Korea?
No, not in North Korea. After his trip to North Korea, he checked into rehab for alcohol abuse. He says
he was drunk when he was in North Korea.
Seems that
way. When he gave that interview on CNN.
His agent, Daniel Prince, came out and said that Rodman had suffered from pressure to be a, quote, superhuman political figure during his visit to North Korea.
God.
And so he's now saying he needs help for his alcohol abuse. So all we can say is, Dennis Rodman, we hope you get better soon.
Well,
Get the help
here's
you
the
need.
thing. Here's the thing. If he's in rehab, then I think it's only fitting that Kim Jong-un should come here to visit him.
Very smart.
Maybe on his birthday.
On his birthday, yes.
I like that idea. I do like that idea. We talk a lot about Google Glass and how annoying those are, so if you think that that's bad, wait until you hear about this. Google has unveiled its new smart contact lens. Yes, indeed. It can help measure glucose level in tears. The whole point here is that it's going to help sort of analyze your body's functions, see if you're sick, see what you're lacking, take a look and sort of analyze and diagnose problems that you have, and it's all based on the contact that you have in your eye.
But specifically with diabetes.
Yeah, for the beating.
For glucose. They can measure glucose by your tears.
But I mean, you put a contact lens on,
That's
and
right.
Is that right?
It's got a little chip in it.
So these are not Google Glass's contact lens glasses.
Right. No, it's not Google Glass.
Oh, got it.
It's the contact lens. It's something different. And
So this might be.
It's not such a bad
Sound
idea.
like a good application.
And congratulations to the Jamaican bobsled team. They have qualified to go to Sochi Olympics. Here's the problem.
What are they bobsled on? There's no snow.
I know. Well, you remember the great story about the Jamaican bobsled team. So their two-man bobsled team qualified, but here's the problem. It costs about $80,000 in travel and equipment to get to the Olympics, and that's money that they don't have. So they are now asking the internet to help fund their trip.
Oh, they'll make it. They
put out a link where you can contribute money to the Jamaican bobsled team. Right now they're at $17,000. They need to get to $80,000 within the next couple of weeks. We sent out a link if you'd like to help.
Did we do that?
We did. We put out a link
That'd
at
be-
BP Show on Twitter at BP Show. Go check it out.
So they have to get to Sochi. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking, that's right. Not getting to this country. They got.
That's right. They got to go all the way to Russia with their bobsled and their equipment and all that stuff. So it costs a lot of money.
Good. So send them a couple of bucks.
They do it. Yeah.
Check our website, BillPressShow.com, and we'll have the link up. For the
on Twitter at BP Show. Right
on Twitter. On Twitter.
Check it out.
At BP Show.
You got it.
All right. Yes. A lot of big political developments coming up that have happened in the last week or so. Cameron Joseph covers the political scene across the board for The Hill, joining us on our news line this morning. Hey, Cameron. Good Monday morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Happy MLK Day. So in Virginia, it looks like we're going to have a race for the U.S. Senate, right?
Yeah, former RNC head Ed Gillespie is jumping in, and they actually managed to land a Republican against Mark Warner, which I think a lot of folks, including a lot of Republicans, were not expecting up until about 2 months ago. And Gillespie, I don't know if he's going to be able to give Warner a super tough race, but he's certainly going to be able to raise a lot of money and make Democrats spend a lot more time and attention in Virginia than they were expecting to.
Well, it's interesting with Gillespie running against Mark Warner because Mark was former governor, of course, before he became senator. He was always enjoyed a lot of bipartisan support, and is not that liberal a Democrat even.
No, and frankly, the only reason this would be competitive at all is because Democrats in general are just not doing well, and President Obama's numbers have certainly sank in the state. But there hasn't been any super recent polling, but Warner was still almost at 60% approval rating, even when Obama was at about 40% in the state. At one point, a Democrat pointed out to me that Mark Warner was more popular with the general public than Terry McAuliffe, the new governor, was with Democrats. So he's going to be hard to beat. But you see weird things in wave elections, and Republicans are hoping that this will be a wave election for now. I'm still a little skeptical that it's going to be a big enough wave to take out someone like Mark Warner. But Ed Gillespie's going to be able to raise a lot of money, and he's very telegenic. He's very folksy. He's going to be a good candidate. He's a former lobbyist and worked for Enron, and that could be a big strike against him. But it should be an interesting race, and it certainly is going to be a lot more interesting than it would be without Gillespie in the race.
Yeah, 2014 in general is going to be, a pretty exciting political year, right? There's so many races up, congressional races, governor's races, Senate races, state legislative races, across the board.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating year, and I think the real action is going to be in the Senate. There's some House races that are going to be very interesting to watch, and a few governor's races. I think especially in Wisconsin, to a lesser extent in Texas, that are going to be a lot of fun to watch. But the Senate is really where the big battle is, and it's a lot of red states that they have Democrats they're defending, and it's going to be very interesting to see if some of these red state Democrats in places like Alaska and Arkansas and Louisiana and North Carolina can hold on. And if President Obama's numbers don't improve, it's going to be tough for them, because if he's 45% nationally, that means he's in 35% in some of these places.
Are any of the retirements that we've seen lately going to have an impact in the both in the Senate and in the House in terms of control of either body?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot more retirements in the House recently than the Senate, and I think the biggest thing, there's going to be some seats here and there that flip one way or the other. There's Democrats have lost to hardcore blue dog Democrats, very centrist Democrats and very red districts. But those seats are probably gone. There's been a bunch of Republican retirements, and some of these more moderate centrist districts that are slightly Republican leaning or toss up that Democrats are now helping to play in. But really the biggest net impact of all these retirements, and I think people are going to be blown away by this, but it's likely that the House is going to be even more polarized next cycle, no matter who wins, because it's a lot of these folks who are either establishment Republicans, who are business Republicans or centrist Republicans, and a lot of these Democrats are the ones who are voting against Obamacare in the first place. There's 34 Democrats who voted against Obamacare, and we're looking at about 4 or 5 of them that are actually going to be running for re-election next time. So there's a huge drop-off in the center on both parties, and I think it's going to be even harder to get stuff done in the House.
Oh, yeah, that's just what we need. That's just what we need, a more polarized House, right?
Exactly. I'm sure a lot of people are excited about that.
Yeah, more gridlock. I want to come back to Virginia for just a second. One thing I forgot to ask you is, in the last race for governor, Ted Cruz was a major factor coming in and supporting Ken Cuccinelli. Certainly, I know Ed Gillespie well. He is not a Tea Party Republican. He's very much an establishment Republican. Mm-hmm. How's the Tea Party going to react to his candidacy? Will they get behind him at this convention? And is Ted Cruz going to play any role in it?
Yeah, well, Ted Cruz is in this awkward position. He's certainly not making it any less awkward. He is the vice chairman of the National Republican Senatorial Committee. So they gave him that position, I think, kind of to try and keep him a little bit in check, and they're expecting him to be able to help with some of these Senate races rather than hurt. But, Ed Gillespie is definitely establishment, though. He's pretty conservative on a lot of things. And I talked to Ted Cruz right after Gillespie announced. I just talked to the NRSC head, Jerry Moran, who was like, yeah, we're so excited. We can't wait. They can't endorse, obviously, in a primary, but it looks like Gillespie is going to have a relatively clear path, even if hardcore base conservatives aren't that happy with him. Then I went to talk to Ted Cruz, and I basically asked him, hey, what do you think of this guy? And what he said is, I like Ed Gillespie. He's a friend of mine. He's a good man, but that's ultimately a decision for the voters of Virginia. And I asked him, 4, 5, 6 times every way I could think of, well, what do you think of him? And he kept just, avoiding the question. He said he eventually ran off saying, I have to go vote. He wouldn't say what he thought of it, which is kind of funny because Ed Gillespie and his wife, Kathy, both gave money to Ted Cruz in his last race. Ed Gillespie gave money, or his wife gave money to him during the competitive primary he had. So,
really?
The fact that Ted Cruz is, they go back and, Ed Gillespie's wife was willing to stick her neck out to support Ted Cruz against the establishment candidate even when, the NRSC was still kind of hoping, or some Republicans at least were kind of hoping for the other guy. So it's pretty notable that Ted Cruz wouldn't even help folks who have helped him in the past. I think there's a lot of Republicans, including some very conservative ones, that have been frustrated with him, not because necessarily some of his stances or political views, but because he's just not willing to be a team player almost ever.
Yeah. Well, again, it's going to be a fascinating year, action on many fronts, and now Virginia, where nobody expected a big race. We're going to see one, and it'll take a lot of attention and a lot of money. Cameron, good to talk to you this morning. Thanks for the roundup. Have a great Martin Luther King Day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks, Cameron.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Cameron Joseph at The Hill, thehill.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine,
Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American. As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. Travis Waldron again from Think Progress Sports coming in at the half to talk to us about the latest in the sports world, including the big pot bowl coming up. Yep. Denver. I love it. Denver versus Seattle, and they're so afraid it would turn into the pot bowl that they have moved the Super Bowl to Secaucus, New Jersey, right. Where you know damn well Chris Christie is not going to allow anybody to smoke pot.
Shut down the bridge.
Yeah, that's right. They may not be able to get there. Right, they'll shut down the bridge. Speaking of Christie, he's in a little more hot water because the mayor of Hoboken, New Jersey, Dawn Zimmer, now says she was also the victim of some political retaliation on the part. She made this comment to Steve Kornacki Saturday morning. This claim to Steve Kornacki Saturday morning on MSNBC that the officials from New Jersey, speaking for Governor Christie, had warned her that they were going to withhold from Hoboken, which really suffered a lot of serious flooding after Hurricane Sandy. They were going to withhold funding if she did not support a development project that the governor wanted. Here is the mayor.
The major question is, did they connect Sandy funding, Hoboken Sandy funding, to the Rockefeller project? The fact is, that is what they did. I'm coming forward. I'm sharing my story directly. I'm here talking to you. I'm sharing my journal. I'm offering to testify under oath.
And she also met with the U.S. attorney who are investigating these charges of political payback on the part of the governor's office. So these charges are yet to be proven, of course, but as mayor after mayor after mayor comes forward against Governor Christie, he clearly is not out of the woods
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 33 minutes after the hour on Martin Luther King's birthday here, the 20th of January. Monday morning, coming to you live from our nation's capital, brought to you today by AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country. Good men and women of AFSCME working under President Lee Saunders. And a real connection here because we remember when Martin Luther King went to Memphis, he went there not for a civil rights speech. He went there to support members of AFSCME, sanitation workers who were out on strike. For more information about their good work, so economic justice was as important a cause for Martin Luther King as civil rights. For more information about the good work of AFSCME, go to the website afscme.org. AFSCME. This weekend, everybody knew what the weekend was all about. It was about football. It was about the playoffs. And now we know the big teams going to the Super Bowl from Denver and from Seattle, the only two states, of course, that allow legal marijuana now. And so it is already being called the Pot Bowl. Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports in studio with us. What do you say, Travis? Did you have a good day yesterday?
I did. It was nice to watch. I'm kind of happy about the Pot Bowl. I saw somebody on Twitter call it the Smoke-a Bowl. Which I kind of like.
Yeah.
Smoke-a Bowl.
Smoke-a Bowl. We were saying it's...
Halftime is at 4:20.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, right. We were saying it's too bad that the game, the Super Bowl, is not being played in one of those two cities, right? There'd be a big cloud.
It's like instead of, normally when they kick off after all the fireworks and you can't see anything, instead of fireworks, it would just be one big pot cloud hanging over
and the players
perpetually.
would all be hugging each other.
Yeah.
And
be very happy.
Yeah.
Richard Sherman would probably be quite calmer.
He could probably use it.
So
what do you think? The two best teams win and we go to a great Super Bowl?
I think this is the matchup everybody was kind of looking for back mid-season.
Totally.
The kind of the offense that's setting records. Peyton Manning had maybe the best season of all time for a quarterback, and probably the league's best defense, that if not the best, right up there. And I think I'm happy for Russell Wilson. I think he's had a great start to his career, and to see him make the Super Bowl. And this Seattle team is fun, and it's kind of clashing philosophies. The Seattle team is loose and likes to talk, and the Broncos are kind of take on the identity of Peyton Manning and just business-like. And
it's such a good classic matchup of two teams that are so fundamentally different, and yet I think you're right. I think these are without a doubt the two best teams in the NFL this year.
I think so.
Those are the two teams that belong there.
I really wanted Denver to win. Once Denver won yesterday, I was kind of indifferent about who came out of the NFC, because it would have been great to see Denver go against either one of those defenses.
Yeah.
But I was kind of rooting for Seattle. I kind of wanted to see Seattle get there. San Francisco was there last year.
Yeah.
I like Colin Kaepernick. I think the 49ers are a very good team that are probably built to hang around for a while. But this Seattle team has been fun all year, and Russell Wilson's just great to watch.
It was fun watching the two of them yesterday. I mean, that is the future of the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
Those two guys are going to be doing this against each other for a long time in that division and in the playoffs. And just
how young are they?
Kaepernick's in his third year and Wilson's in his second. So
is that right?
Yeah. Low
Whereas
20s.
Peyton Manning and Tom Brady are both 36.
Yeah, they're both on the tail end of their careers, and these two are kind of
36 tail end of their career. Can I ask a really dumb question?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm watching the game.
There are no dumb questions, only dumb people.
All right. Can this dumb person ask a question? So I'm watching the game and I keep hearing this Omaha.
You finally found it. Yeah.
What the hell was that about?
No idea.
What do you mean?
I don't know. So yesterday, right before the game kicked off yesterday, I got a PR pitch in my email for the Omaha Zoo has now named a baby penguin after Peyton Manning to quote thank him for all the shout outs.
Oh, but so
I
don't know.
If we knew what it meant, then the other team would know.
I'm convinced it means absolutely
nothing.
But you're jumping. So what I was hearing was the quarterback calling plays. Was that it?
Well, calling something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Peyton Manning's kind of famous for just yelling stuff.
Oh,
so I'm kind of interested.
But I don't remember hearing. Where are the microphones?
They have like the big ones that go. They kind of go over the field and capture it all. And I think Peyton should start yelling at his corporate sponsors. Like Papa John's.
Buick!
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Like,
I didn't
get them all out there. Fresh ingredients, better pizza.
I was waiting for somebody to explain what all this Omaha.
It could either mean a play that he's calling, or it could be a misdirection for the other team. It could mean anything.
Okay.
It could mean anything. It could mean nothing.
There's so much scrutiny about it now that I think it probably means nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it fooled me.
I'm glad you picked up on it because it was a big
But
story.
also, you could
game.
hear with the Seahawks and the 49ers, you could also hear some calling or whatever comments, but it wasn't clearly like Omaha, and I kept thinking, Omaha, this isn't Omaha. What's going on? Okay.
I think he's just yelling.
Right.
Why not?
So, what's the latest on the blizzard for the Super Bowl? I mean,
I don't know. Denver was 60 degrees yesterday.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean, they could end up getting beautiful weather.
That's right.
Could end up being
even in New Jersey,
cold.
It could be 70 degrees.
It
right?
could be.
Yeah.
It could, but if it's a total mess, I like that they had a sort of backup plan in place. Including holding it on a Saturday, which I'd be all for it. I think they should hold it on a Saturday.
Either hold it on a Saturday or give us off on Monday.
Exactly.
You're asking a little too much, you know?
Seriously.
Yeah.
But no, I think it'll be interesting. I think it's, a lot of people complain about the idea of a cold weather Super Bowl. I would rather play a cold weather Super Bowl than a Super Bowl in the Dome because I'm sort of opposed to playing football indoors. It just seems kind of, I mean, I know a lot of teams do it, but it's the weather, the elements are a part of it. And it's kind of a part of the game. You have to deal with all of that.
Well,
I agree with that. I think you can also...
It used to be. I mean, I just think we're getting to the point today where we...
Well, they want this manufactured spectacle where there's no threat of, rain coming down on their corporate sponsors sitting in the first million rows that, the Super Bowl is much bigger than the football game.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you put it in a dome, it's a little easier to make sure everything else goes right. Of course, then the lights go out, and then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So
I like the idea of holding in a place like Miami or San Diego or New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans got a dome, but I mean, a place where that the weather is reliably okay this time of year. You might get some rain, and it might be a little colder than usual.
But hey, if people still pay $5,000 for a ticket to sit out in it, good on them. I'm not.
Right.
No way.
But
you missed the commercial. If you go to the game, you missed the best part.
The other big story, football story today, is from the President of the United States in a pretty wide-ranging interview that he gave to David Remnick, the editor of the New Yorker magazine. He was asked about whether he watches sports, and yes, and does he watch football? Yes. So how does he feel about the fact with all these problems with the concussions and the retired players and all the lawsuits and everything? And President Obama said, well, quote, I would not let my son play pro football, but he watches football because he says these guys, they know what they're doing. I'm not sure that latter part is true, but it's interesting that he takes that strong a position against allowing his son to play football.
I think
did he have one?
I think that's a growing position. You know, I don't have kids, but if I did, I don't know if I would let them play football with all that we know now, or that what we don't know, what we might know but don't know. You know, how bad is it on kids? And there's been studies that have come out and said one area where we need a lot more research is on the kids, on what concussions and these impacts do to children. And I think
well, we know it's a problem with professional players. Has it been shown to be a problem at the high school level?
Well,
there
have been studies. I think there was one study that came out that said high school football players might, I think it was twice as likely, or they're more likely to suffer concussions than older players,
because
and
the equipment is not.
I don't know if it has to do with development. I mean, there's a real dearth of research when it comes to the younger football players, and I think that's something. And it's not just football. I think it's soccer. It's other for younger girls. There's questions about soccer again. The lacrosse is a sport where there's been some questions. I think all of this focus on concussions now is going to start, and brain injuries is going to start raising questions about a lot of sports, because how do we keep kids safe playing these games? And
I also think that, like, even in the NFL, and this might be naive of me, but that they are aware of the problems, and you don't want to necessarily be that guy who ends somebody's career over a head injury or something like that. Whereas with high school, where you've got, I've seen it firsthand. I mean, there are some big dudes out there that don't necessarily have the knowledge of what kind of damage you could do to a human if you hit them in a head-on collision on a football field. They just don't know.
One of the big issues in high school, too, is the lack of trainers on the sidelines, and the lack of professionals, medical professionals. On the NFL, you have neurosurgeons and trainers and doctors on every sideline, and they're getting better in the NFL. They still have a long way to go. The high school and college level, I mean, the NCAA is not anywhere close, and I don't think the high school level is really that close either. I think Obama's statement is kind of indicative of a lot of people, this sort of uncertainty about football. About is it safe for my kids, but I like watching it, so I'm going to watch these guys. Yeah. And there's kind of a disconnect. I have that disconnect. I sit there and I watch, and a guy gets hit the way a couple guys did yesterday, and I think, how can I watch this? Am I part of the problem of them not solving this because I keep watching it? Mm-hmm. And I think it's
and people keep watching it, people keep buying tickets. And you have two sons. Yeah. Do you let them play professional football?
No, I wouldn't let them play football. And I used to say, suck it up.
And you played.
And I played, yeah. And I got my clock cleaned a couple of times. That explained a few things.
All right. President Obama making news, saying if he had a son, he wouldn't let him play football. Travis Waldron is here from Think Progress Sports. It's thinkprogress.org, and the number to join the conversation at 866-55-PRESS. Any comments or questions on yesterday's game or predictions for the Super Bowl? Always welcome.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Racing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 11 minutes before the top of the hour. Travis Waldron is here. We're talking all things sports. Travis Waldron from Think Progress Sports, thinkprogress.org. And I stirred things up a little bit, I guess, by asking what Omaha meant. I didn't know, and I was afraid to think yesterday that this was happening, and 50,000 people in that stadium knew what it meant, but I didn't. I don't know. Peter?
We had one comment on Twitter from John who says that Omaha means it's going to be a quick snap after he says it. Which is not
it makes sense because there's a lot like what I was thinking yesterday is.
But if you do it every time, then the other team's going to know.
And then the next sound,
right.
a lot of times he would clap after it, and the snap would come. But
he'll say it well ahead of the snap. Also, you know what I mean? So, I don't know that that's entirely true. There might be something to that.
You heard it more than once. It was not like then and then Omaha.
But he would say, right.
Omaha,
and then say some other junk.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure he would tell us, even if we, why would he?
Maybe after he wins the Super Bowl.
Maybe so.
He'll tell us. Which, by the way, what are your predictions for the game?
I think Denver's had a lot of injuries.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not sure I trust Seattle's offense enough to keep up with Denver.
I just have this feeling.
Can I?
You're gonna punt?
Can I hedge?
You're gonna punt?
Yeah. Can I punt on this?
That's fine.
And I'll get back to you at the end of the week.
I get the feeling that this is Denver's year. I just get that feeling. I mean, it's just been that kind of.
I'd like to see Peyton win another one.
Sure.
From what
go out on top.
He kind of drives me crazy, but I think he deserves it.
From what I saw yesterday, if I were a betting man, I'd bet on the Broncos. I mean, for just again, not knowing anything, Omaha. Right. All right. There's this other story that you have written about at Think Progress, which concerning Grantland and some controversy over one of the reporters there and some of the digging that he did and the end result. Not a lot of time left, but tell us about it.
Well, it's a tough story to summarize, but they wrote about this putter, a golf putter that a woman was supposed to be magical, that a woman had invented, and by the end of the story, they had found out that she was a fraud in terms of her credentials. She wasn't a big-time scientist, as she had said, but then he also outed her as transgender, and at the end of the story, we find out that she ended up committing suicide.
Because she was afraid of being outed.
In part, yeah, I think so. It's unclear. I mean, I think it raises a lot of journalistic questions and a lot of questions about how the journalism world talks about transgendered people, and all, we've kind of gotten to a better place when we talk about lesbian, gay, and bisexual people. But that last part of the LGBT equation is still eluded a lot of people, and it's something that I think journalists need to step back and consider of what is. And I think my colleague Alyssa Rosenberg wrote a really good piece yesterday about raising some questions for Grantland and ESPN, who are supposed to address it later this week. And I really would suggest checking that piece out and a lot of the other writing at Think Progress, yes, that has been going on, because there's just so many questions about how, what went wrong with this story, in the sense of why was it focused the way it was? Why was it written in the tone the way it was? Why did they even run it? And
yeah, I mean, so somebody comes up and says, "I've got this magic putter that it's going to go in the hole every time or something." So you look at that putter and you find out the putter is, I mean, the claim is false.
And one of the things that they ignored is we don't even know, is the putter magic? We don't. That question never seemed to be answered because we started focusing all of a sudden on the person behind it. And, and one of the major problems that I had with it was it treated her unwillingness to be open about being transgendered as the same form of deceit as lying about degrees and her credentials as a scientist. And that's really troubling. I think those are very different issues. And
That's what I was saying. So it's a putter work or not, that's one legitimate line of inquiry. Is she really a scientist, as she claimed? That's a legitimate claim of it.
Right.
But then getting into her personal sexual orientation or sexual history, no.
It goes after it with the veracity.
Nothing to do with the story.
And it treats it as it's merely a story.
Right.
It treats it as sort of kind of this mystery thriller story, and you kind of lose it at the end. There's a person there.
A real story.
Right. And, there were so many. I thought there were some really fascinating angles that could have been taken. Is this putter magic? And if it is, how did someone who's not a scientist develop it?
Right. It was a story on Grantland, but you can find out the questions about it from Think Progress at thinkprogress.org. All right, Travis, happy MLK Day. Make the most of it. And thank you for starting off with us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms. Cubism, symbolism, futurism, constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Kritikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
Hey, you thought the first 2 hours were great? Wait till you see hour number 3 here on a Monday morning. Third big hour coming up. We'll lose you on Free Speech TV, so move over to the video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/Tawker, TAWKR-TV. And the next hour, we're going to go to the movies with Ann Hornaday from the Washington Post, talk about the big Oscar nominees. And Evan McMorris-Santoro covers the White House for BuzzFeed. He'll be in studio with us as a friend of Bill. And all of you friends of Bill, stay around.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go now in the next hour. Don't forget, Evan McMorris-Santoro covers the White House for BuzzFeed, here in studio with us as a friend of Bill. It is Martin Luther King birthday, of course. So there is, the federal government is shut down. There will be no briefing at the White House today, and the president has a very laid-back schedule. He and the First Lady have made a tradition on Martin Luther King's birthday of going out and performing a service event. Usually it's some shelter or, food kitchen here in the Bay Area, in the Washington area, rather. And they will do that today, their public service project, at 1:30 p.m. Otherwise, no events on the president's schedule and no briefing for today. In addition, Evan McMorris-Santoro will go to the movies with Ann Hornaday from the Washington Post. Hour number 3 coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Martin Luther King birthday, holiday. Good morning, everybody. Happy MLK Day, and welcome to the Bill Press Show this Monday, January 20. Good to see you today, wherever you happen to be in this great country of ours. We are there with you and for you on your local progressive talk radio station and on our video stream. Those of you who prefer to watch on your laptop or your desktop or your iPhone, iPad, or whatever, you know where to find us at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. What do you say? You see me sitting in the big chair today, but it wasn't so long ago you saw Evan McMorris-Santoro over the Christmas holidays sitting in. He has humbly agreed to be, in all humility, just to be a guest today, but a friend of Bill for the entire hour. Evan, nice to see you.
You know, it's much better to be back. It's better to be back in the right seat, I think. And I have to say something about this. The Bill Press Show team really guided me through what was really this is a hard job that you have. This is a difficult thing to do.
Damn right it is.
It is. It really is.
I hope everybody appreciates that.
That's right.
Right. and it is.
Although they seem to carry the whole show, all the people around here, so I don't know how much.
We can plug anybody.
They sure walked me right through it. Yeah, that's right. They dragged me across the line.
It's nice to have him. He did a great job.
It's a wonderful team here. Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy.
Hey. Good morning.
With Alicia Cruz and Cyprian Bolding, of course, rounding out the team, the whole gang, and everybody was very, very complimentary, very happy with that.
It was so fun. It's really fun. You got great listeners too. Whatever, I can just go on and on. It was really, it was nice.
They're the best.
It was nice.
People calling in with all their comments from all over the country. We love it.
That's right.
Yeah. We've had potheads this morning from Chico, California.
Yeah.
At 6 a.m. Yep.
Oh well, they're still. Are they still up? Or are they getting up?
Well, we never ask.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I guess
we never know whether
in Colorado the stores open at 8 o'clock in the morning, right, and they close at 8 p.m. So I'm wondering if there's like a morning rush for this kind of stuff.
I don't think there are many rushes anywhere. You know what I mean? Kind of like,
I don't know.
what time is it?
I think I forgot his name. I think the guy from Chico. He had a morning rush.
I think he had a morning rush. Yeah.
Well, there's so much to talk about, and Chris Christie decided he was going to get away from it all and go down to Florida and help out Rick Scott, and nobody would be talking anymore about the bridge. No, it didn't work out that way. Now it's not just the bridge. It's all this other stuff that's piling on. And, of course, Saturday Night Live can't resist it. It's too good. Here's their take on it last night.
But are you concerned this will overshadow the rest of your term as governor?
Pierce, I will not let this scandal define the state of New Jersey. Instead, New Jersey will continue to be defined by organized crime, pizza, no-show jobs, a vague chemical smell, and forget about it.
That is so Christie. I love it.
The Christie impression and the James Gandolfini sort of Sopranos impression are morphing together. Have you noticed that?
Yes,
like
exactly.
they're all just sort of doing big sort of mafia guy.
But here's what I don't understand about Chris Christie. Now he needs somebody to come rush. We were wondering, is any of the Republicans going to stand up and defend him, because they haven't really been rushing to talk about to his defense. You know, he finally found somebody, right? Rudy Giuliani. And
this is a very well orchestrated Democratic kind of organizational effort to try to hurt Governor Christie.
Yeah. So he's now trying to turn it all into a Democratic campaign plot against Christie. This is a self-inflicted wound.
Well, this is where I think he's going to try. This is a whole new tack from him that we've seen. So tack number one was, I am the victim here. I am so sorry this happened. I can't believe it. I had this high school friend I haven't talked to in years. I'm just sitting here being governor, and all of a sudden people around me are doing this crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. What am I supposed to do? I'm going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to fix it. And tack number two has been MSNBC's out to get me.
Yeah, right.
And the Democrats are now
now number three is it's a Democratic Party plot.
Well, yeah, and
as if Democrats were that organized.
Well, and tied to it is this thing where he keeps saying Democratic governors keep coming out of the woodwork. As though he's at first was a Fort Lee mayor. Who's ever heard of him? Mm-hmm. I don't know this person. Why would I even do this thing with this bridge? I don't know who this person is. And now it's the mayor of Hoboken, not a small city in New Jersey. Right. I mean, one of the larger cities. She's just coming out of the woodwork now with her new allegations about all the stuff he did. I don't know. It's an interesting tactic. I think the irony of it is it's the only tactic I can think of that could possibly re-ingratiate or possibly ingratiate Christie at all to the right wing of his party. That has been one of the reasons he's been so alone on this to begin with is that conservatives don't like him either. And they're perfectly happy to watch him twist in the wind as this stuff is all going on. But once you become the candidate that MSNBC is out to destroy, and that the Democratic Party is collaborating to destroy, that's possibly a message you can take to Iowa. Whereas I'm a guy who believes in global warming and shut down a bridge is not one you can take over.
I just wish the Democratic Party were organized enough to think up something like this as a way of bringing down Chris Christie. The truth is, they can't organize a 2-car funeral. We know the Democratic Party. And also, I would have to say, I think my advice to Chris Christie, whom I like, would be, if you need somebody, tell Rudy Giuliani to just go home and shut up.
Well, this is, again, not the kind of person who's going to ingratiate you to the right.
No, get somebody out there, who's the people are going to believe. Rudy Giuliani is so yesterday.
Well, and as you mentioned, right, Rudy Giuliani is sort of out of the spotlight now, but the governors who are in the spotlight, who he's supposed to be helping as Republican Governors Association chair, are not interested in talking. I mean, Rick Scott is a governor that's had a lot of problems in terms of his own poll numbers and approval rating and stuff like that. The exact kind of guy that would want to stand next to Chris Christie, who could want some of that Christie bipartisan sheen on him, and he doesn't want to go anywhere near him now.
No, he went down to raise money for him, and Rick Scott would not be seen in public with him. And Lindsey Graham has told Chris Christie, that plan to coming down here and helping raise money, we're going to forget about that. So Lindsey has disinvited Chris Christie from South Carolina. I'm telling you, it gets wild and wild. Anyhow, we want to talk about the president's NSA speech. Sure. Ann Hornaday is going to join us a little bit later to talk about movies. She's with the Washington Post. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories going on. Since Evan is in from BuzzFeed, it's the all-animal edition of the Full Court Press today, right? So, more bad news for Christie. Princess is no longer with us. Princess was the 26-year-old camel based in Lacey Township, New Jersey, who became famous for picking football games. She died over the weekend at 26 years young. Princess correctly picked the Baltimore Ravens at the beginning of last year's football season and had a record of picking 17 out of 22 games correctly last year. And she didn't even get a chance to pick this year's Super Bowl winner.
Right, which is in New Jersey.
In New Jersey.
That's a very sad story.
I know, but and she's in New Jersey. This is a camel.
A camel.
All right, now could you inform, how did the camel pick the winners?
She checked with her bookie. Duh.
But wasn't they put a thing in front? She put her paw.
She flipped a coin.
Okay.
I don't think camels have paws.
It's the whole
ask the
opposable
BuzzFeed guy.
thumb.
Let me put a pause in this right now. Yeah, I think it's a hoof. Okay. This is a weird look. It's like it's a very hairy camel, right?
It wasn't a good looking camel. It was a good looking camel.
Well, R.I.P. And so the thing is, how am I gonna make a Super Bowl bet now?
That's right.
What other animal can I find to step on a picture page?
Get one of BuzzFeed's cats.
I'm glad you asked. As that story ends, this one begins. Bao Bao, the panda here in Washington, D.C., made her first debut this weekend. Saturday was the first chance for the public to take a look at the 5-month-old cub, and the zoo extended the hours so that the public could wait in line for hours and see the little panda. But, Bill, as you mentioned earlier, we do have the Panda Cam.
The Panda Cam.
You can watch the Panda Cam instead.
The symbol of the government shutdown, the Panda Cam.
Panda Cam.
If Carol's not watching the Bill Press show, my wife, she's watching the Panda Cam.
It's easy to mix the two up, too, by the way.
I'm unabashedly supportive of DC's Panda Fever. I don't really have Panda Fever, but I think it's kind of cool that people, there's a nice thing people are into. The the panda's cute. It seems like right now there's a big trend among us snarky reporter types to be anti-panda. I'm going to I'm pro-panda.
I'm pro-panda.
I'm standing for the panda.
Yeah.
Three of us, we are bucking the trend.
That's it.
Pro-panda-ganda.
We're pro.
You know what I'm talking about. And one final story. Dayton, Ohio, their 23-year-old Abigail Miller lost her 2 dogs. She left her gate open, and her 2 dogs ran out. So she found one at a local shelter, but she couldn't find the other one, a husky named Zorro. So she put flyers out all around the neighborhood that said, if you help me find my dog, I will get you a case of beer and a pack of cigarettes. And it worked.
No.
She found a man found the husky, again named Zorro.
She knows what works in Dayton, Ohio.
Exactly. In Dayton, Ohio, you can pay your bills with beer and cigarettes. Guy found the dog, brought it to her. She offered to give him the beer and cigarettes. He turned her down, said, I don't need that, but you can buy me a sandwich instead. So she did.
Oh, so we didn't even take the beer and
They didn't even take the beer and cigarettes. But that was what she put out there. She had everybody looking to try and get this case of beer and cigarettes.
All right. The lesson of the story is?
Who got the case of beer and the cigarettes? That's the lesson of the story. Who really got that? Because she had it.
A lot of build-up last week, for the last few weeks, to the president's big speech on NSA. He came, he spoke. Did he conquer?
Going into this speech, people who were privacy advocates and critics of the NSA were not expecting very much, and they sort of pre-pundited or whatever the story, saying the speech was not going to be good, was not going to do enough. And afterwards, I'm sensing a bit of a sort of wary, cautious optimism about it. Glenn Greenwald was on Bill Maher's show the night of the speech, and he said, that there's a lot of sort of fundamental issues he still has with what the president is doing, but there seemed to be some interest, he said, in some of the reforms that Obama talked about, such as the idea of having this tech advocate that would go into the FISA court when you're trying to get one of these wiretaps done and try to explain the technical implications of it and what impact it might have, which is the kind of thing that people who are in the tech world have been wanting. They feel like these judges don't really know what it means to open the floodgates to these metadata, stuff like that. So I think jury's out. It's sort of what the end is. I think Obama's never going to appease all of the critics. In terms of a president who's been shifting his position from being a person who was defending the NSA to one becoming a critic, I think he did a fairly good job of putting himself over in the critic side a bit more than he had been before. But I don't know how that plays out with people who have seen him be adamantly in favor of defending these programs.
Yeah, my take on the speech was I didn't expect much, and I didn't get much. Got a lot of rhetoric. Got a lot of, admitting that there are some problems with the collection of all this metadata, especially for the government to be holding on to it. So we got to put it somewhere else. We're still going to do it, but we're just going to store it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't tell us where he's going to store it. And he says, Eric Holder, you figure it out, and I'll give you 60 days, right? Come back.
Well, and John Podesta is going to help out, too.
And John Podesta is going to, because the phone companies don't want it, and he doesn't want the government to have it. And so what are they going to do? Create a whole new government? Whole new? I don't know.
Right.
And I thought going out of his way to slam Edward Snowden again was unnecessary. I mean, the fact of it is, I know he's got a fixation on this, and I do too. On the other side, I guess that's the truth. But we would not know what NSA was up to. We would not be having this conversation. He would not have been giving that speech. There would have been no presidential panel. There would have been no judge's decision if it weren't for Edward Snowden. So I think at some point you got to come back and say, look, he broke the law, but hey, Martin Luther King broke the law, too. We're celebrating his birthday today, right? He's a great American.
Yeah, well, I know what's actually very interesting about that, because I did notice that he came out pretty strongly against Snowden in the speech. I mean, but in the sort of preview calls leading up to the speech that the White House has calls with reporters.
Yeah.
In the news that leaked very early in the morning, calls I was not a part of, they spoke about some of these disclosures being things that they're happy that they're talking about now. They're happy to see these conversations. They understand why people are upset about them, and they're happy to have these conversations to fix these problems. The press call that I was on was a little bit later in the day, leading up to Obama's speech. Similar things were happening, where when we were talking about foreign leaders being upset, we're talking about metadata being upset. The things that really Snowden is now known for exposing, the administration line in these background press calls was, we're happy to see this stuff. We are okay with having this conversation, and we understand why people are upset about it. So on the one hand, you actually have them saying, sort of embracing to a certain extent some of the criticisms that Snowden has done. I think that Obama's thing is, there are proper channels for this sort of stuff, and you can't just go around giving out classified data, But again, the argument of people who like Snowden is that this to him was, the Pentagon Papers moment. It had to be done.
And I think the greatest evidence to me that, again, I watched the whole thing, right? And the president said, I thought, all the right things. I just thought his actions were short of matching his rhetoric. But the fact that the intelligence agencies are not raising hell, that they're not really complaining, and the hardliners on this stuff are not saying Obama is selling out our intelligence agencies, proves to me that he didn't really do anything. He didn't touch them.
That's interesting. I don't know.
I mean, when Mike Rogers and Peter King and Dianne Feinstein and all these hardliners on intelligence are praising the president's, then he didn't do enough.
Well, the numbers
didn't do enough.
Well, the number. Well, it's interesting looking at it. I mean, the numbers have changed quite a bit on this stuff. I mean, one thing that we can say from the post-Snowden world is we're seeing the first polling now showing that people are more interested in talking about privacy than they are about like terrorism concerns. For a long time, it was like, it's more important to worry about stopping terrorism than it is to talk about, privacy. That's changed, and I think that's really has a lot to do with what Snowden came out with. That once you learn some of the details of this stuff, the American people have changed quite a bit, and I think that these guys are going into election years. I'm not sure anybody wants to be the NSA's number one protector that's elected anyway. I mean, we did see them do that piece on 60 Minutes with the NSA, which they basically made a very strong case for themselves, and it was kind of an uncritical piece, but it was largely them saying that this was really bad what Snowden had done, and there was potential for bad things to happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about that.
I just find just take a quick break here, but in reading all the reports, I read everything everybody's written about, including you. It was tough. It was tough to report on that speech because it was not real clear.
It was not.
It was a little fuzzy around the edges, which is probably just the way Obama wanted it. Evan McMorris-Santoro here, friend of Bill. You all friends are invited to join us as well at 866-55-PRESS. You watched the speech? You read about it? Do you feel more secure now? Do you think the president did enough to protect our privacy against an intrusive government? 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. And Hornaday joins us from the Washington Post. We'll take time out to go to the movies in the next segment. Right now we're talking about the president's NSA speech. Roman is calling with Evan McMorris-Santoro. Evan, it's Roman from Janesville, Wisconsin. Hey, good morning, Roman.
Good morning, Bill. How are you doing?
Good. Your comment, quickly.
Pardon?
Your comment.
I just the whole NSA thing, I think, might be a little bit more of a diversion from what I find most concerning. Is nobody talked about how to rein in secret courts. The whole concept to me of a secret court sounds a bit totalitarian, doesn't it?
Well, yes, and thanks, Roman. And Evan, the secret court, the big secret court, is the FISA court, right? And the president didn't make any changes about that.
In fact, he wants to rely on them more.
Yeah, we'll have a public advocate there, but it's still going to be a secret court. Mm-hmm. And who appoints a public advocate, and how do we know what the hell they're doing, right? In the secret court. Good point, Roman. Go to the movies next.
This is the Bill Press Show. Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
What do you say? Happy Martin Luther King birthday here. It is January 20, Monday morning, 33 minutes after the hour now here on the Bill Press Show, coming to you live all across this great land of ours, coast to coast, on your local progressive talk radio station, and the video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. So, a lot of preliminaries sort of this weekend. We had, of course, the 2 playoff games yesterday heading for the Super Bowl on February 2nd. And the end of last week, Friday morning, the Academy Award nominations leading to the big Oscar event hosted by Ellen DeGeneres on Sunday, March 2nd. And Hornaday is a movie critic for the Washington Post, joining us on our news line. And I forgot to re-mention that Evan McMorris-Santoro from BuzzFeed is here in studio with us this hour as a friend of Bill. Good morning, Ann.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, so were you pleased, blown away, surprised? What was your reaction to the nominees on Friday?
It was pretty much as expected. I had a few disappointments. My big, rallying cry going in was I wanted Robert Redford to be nominated for All Is Lost. I thought it was a fantastic movie, number one, and number two, it was the performance of his career, and it just would have been so fitting for the Academy to honor him with at least a nomination. I think he deserved to win it, frankly, but I was really disappointed by that.
But all was lost with that movie, right?
Yeah, and and he kind of he made some comments that led us to believe that he thought it was mismanaged in terms of the release. So now there's kind of a little mini debate going on within the industry about how the studio handled it. But there's a lot of, I guess you call that Monday morning quarterbacking. But it was one of those movies of which there were more than a few this year that really demanded to be seen on the big screen. And maybe it was just that there were just so many good movies like that people couldn't go to all of them, and they chose Gravity instead.
Yeah. What was your other disappointment?
Let's see. Oh, my other sort of crushing disappointment was that Stories We Tell was not nominated. That's a documentary by Sarah Polley that came out last summer, and it was it's just brilliant. She's an actress. A lot of people are familiar with her from her acting work, but over the last few years she's been directing, and she's just a fantastic director. And this movie is a documentary about her own family and a secret that had sort of simmered under the surface for her whole life, and she decided to go after it and see what the real story was. And past that, I do not want to say a word because it is so astonishing. And the story itself is astonishing, but the way she tells it is, frankly, genius. I just thought it was brilliant, and it deserved a nomination, and I do not understand how they possibly could have left that one out.
I want to watch that when I get home, I think.
Please do. I think you'll be really glad that you did. The other thing I was disappointed with is that, a few years ago, they expanded the Best Picture list of nominees to 10. So they have to nominate at least 5, but they can nominate up to 10. And this year they nominated 9. And for a year that easily had 10 great movies. I mean, it was one of the best movie years in recent memory. Everyone can agree on that.
Right.
Why they would have left something out of that, they easily could have nominated, frankly, I would have nominated Fruitvale Station.
It's a movie that you heard so much buzz about it, and then it nothing around
it's non-existent in the award season.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, again, it's a crowd. I will say it's difficult to know what you would switch out for it, just because it was such a strong year. But still, that nomination of a Best Picture is just a great way, I think, for an industry to acknowledge and encourage its younger and entering members. Its emerging talent.
That's a phenomenal movie.
They did that a few years ago with Beasts of the Southern Wild, for example.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's kind of an honorary slot, and it's like they had it, it's open, give it to the guy, or something like Mud, another lovely, smaller movie by a filmmaker named Jeff Nichols. Another emerging, Ryan Coogler, Fruitvale was his very first film, so that would have been stunning. But to honor some of these younger emerging talents, I just think they missed a great opportunity.
And do you feel like there's some sort of maybe politics going on with that Fruitvale Station thing? Because it strikes me that movie got a lot of buzz, and then 12 Years a Slave came out, and then that was the movie. It feels like there's room for one sort of strong African American focused movie at a time. I mean, do you feel like that's what happened there?
I don't know. I am not I'm not on the ground. I don't know the Academy and its ways enough to really say with confidence. I really desperately hope that that's not true. But the other kind of snubs, if you will, the notable leave-outs, one of them was Oprah for The Butler, which got zotzed in every category. And I mean, I think that going in after it opened, a lot of people thought at least she and Forrest Whitaker would get a couple of nominations. So I really hope that's not true. I think that would just be so. My optimistic liberal heart refuses to believe that.
I must say, I thought that Oprah and Forrest Whitaker were incredible.
Oh, they were fantastic.
But the movie itself, I thought, suffered. Was not such a great movie. Whereas 12 Years a Slave, phenomenal acting, and I thought the movie itself was very, very powerful.
Great movie.
Yeah.
12 Years a Slave is a work of art. It is a genuine work of art. It tells a compelling story. It does have those indelible performances, but I just think the way McQueen deployed image and sound to create this very layered, very nuanced, subtle experience, I just think it vaunts into that category of art. Yeah.
I must say, I love Nebraska. I've been singing the praises of Nebraska. All in black and white, which I think should deserve to be in black and white. And June Squibb is my runaway favorite.
Yay! Good.
For actress in a supporting role. She's 84, and she was perfect as the mother of the wife and mother in that thing.
Exactly. And it was I agree with you about the black and white. And, honestly, even though that's a relatively small scale movie, a small canvas movie, that's another one I would argue demands and deserves to be seen on the big screen, because those images of the planes in that gorgeous gelatin print black and white, it's a big screen experience, to get the vastness of the landscape, and then this small little story playing out with epic proportions, against it. And I agree with you about her, because I think that was so easily a caricature, of the swearing grandma, which we see in so many. It's such an easy.
On the motorcycle, maybe.
Yeah,
right?
and she really saved it from that, I think. And there were just so many. I just thought the other woman, I can't remember her name, but the woman who played the newspaper editor that he goes to see.
Oh yeah.
I'll never forget. Yeah. She was just such a poetic presence. It's a really special movie.
It feels like momentum is really behind American Hustle, which I guess sort of surprised me, because I thought 12 Years a Slave was so good, and I thought that Captain Phillips got a lot of stuff, and and her got a lot of talk, but it's all been American Hustle all the time since award season has begun. Do you feel like that's going to carry through to the Oscars? Do you have any sort of idea as to whether or not that the momentum is with them?
It's interesting, because just last night the Producers Guild Awards were announced, and that's often a pretty good predictor of a Best Picture win.
Yeah,
because that's actually the producers. It's the voting constituency is matches the voters in the Academy to a greater degree than other awards. And the Best Picture award actually was a tie between Gravity and 12 Years a Slave.
Wow.
So now a lot of the handicappers are saying, okay, it's still a race. It's not necessarily. I mean, I'm still picking 12 Years a Slave to win Best Picture. I just think, how can you not? It has the aesthetic import and the technical prowess and the historical meaning. And so, to me, it's just a natural Best Picture. But it is apparently still very much a race between those three movies.
It's interesting, too, with, I don't know if you saw this New York Times piece yesterday about Ellen DeGeneres, sort of.
No.
It's an understated form of comedy, but I think she's great. I think she did a good job the last time, and I think I'm really looking forward to.
I do too. Oh, she's such an appealing. I'm not in a position to actually get to watch her show on a regular basis, but whenever she's just one of those people who just jumps out of the screen, and she has an intimate warmth about her that you want in that position, because it's such a long show. It's such a It's such a marathon.
God.
You know, you need someone exactly like her to hold your hand.
It's the rise. It's interesting. It's the rise of the woman host. I mean, who you want the most is Tina Fey and Amy Poehler on Golden Globes, and you definitely want Ellen. She's a great host for this.
There you go.
It's an interesting new sort of era that we're in with that.
And we were sort of during the break before we got back here on the air, talking about lead actress. I mean, it's an interesting group, right? There. Judi Dench was so great in Philomena. She's great in everything. Here we go. Meryl Streep again. Sandra Bullock. Is Sandra Bullock sort of the front runner here, do you think?
No, I think Cate Blanchett is still she's been the front runner.
Really?
Yeah, since Blue Jasmine came out.
Jasmine?
Yeah, I think the chatter has been with her all along, and I kind of feel like it's still.
That was an incredible performance.
Oh yeah, it's a tour de force. I mean, so no, I still feel like it's probably hers for the taking. I think a lot of the acting awards are locked at this point. It feels like she'll take actress. It feels like McConaughey will take actor. It feels like Jared Leto will take supporting, and then there's a little bit, I think the supporting actress might still be up in the air. I'm rooting for Lupita Nyong'o, who won at the Screen Actors Guild, which again is a very good indicator.
Now, finally, I just have to. Can you help? How do you pronounce the name of the best actor in 12 Years a Slave?
Chiwetel Ejiofor, right?
I don't know.
I think that's right.
Chiwetel. So it's almost like Chiwetel.
Yeah, Chiwetel
Ejiofor.
At the Golden Globes, I kept waiting for somebody to say his name because I wanted to know how to pronounce it. I could never see his name. God, he was so good.
It's tremendous. Again, just the physical expressivity. I mean, I just feel like between him and people like, and Tom Hanks, who frankly also deserved it, didn't get nominated, and that performance. I mean, these were just textbook.
It was a surplus of talent and great films this year.
Really
Absolutely.
true.
Yeah,
really true. Let's hope that it continues. I'm just so heartened and buoyed going into 2014. It's like they can still do it for us.
Yes, that's right. Hollywood still has its magic. Hey, Ann, thanks so much for bringing that magic to us this morning. Appreciate it.
Thanks for including me.
WashingtonPost.com, Ann Hornaday.
This is the Bill Press Show. on your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes before the top of the hour. BuzzFeed, go to BuzzFeed. You can find out about anything you're interested in at BuzzFeed. If you want to know what's going on at the White House, it's Evan McMorris-Santoro who will tell you. The White House correspondent for BuzzFeed. In studio with us is a friend of Bill. You're not in charge of the cat videos, are you?
I'm not.
Oh,
do you have that's a very important job. They put me in the White House. They don't want me to.
Oh, right.
They put me over there.
Something serious.
Somewhere where the nuclear codes are. Nowhere where the cat videos.
Is there like an entire crew or division of BuzzFeed that responsible for the?
We have an animals section. We have an animals editor. And the team
is that person responsible for the cat videos?
Well, they're responsible for curating all that stuff. And I have to say, the team actually over there with all that stuff up in New York, in a big building, they are all really, really professional when it comes to this stuff. I mean, the hard work that goes into creating these lists that you can't turn away from, it really is really, really hard work. I mean, it's amazing. And how plugged in they are to what the subject that they cover. These people who are covering this sort of stuff are really sort of in the deep sort of bowels of the internet, pulling stuff out that you and I, mere mortals, can't find. It's really amazing to see actually how that stuff comes together.
Well, that's good. I just want you to know that JJ, the cat that we share with our neighbors, loves the cat videos. So
really,
yeah.
Does JJ click on the ads at least? Because I'd really be.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
Back to the news of the day.
Right.
President Obama. This week's New Yorker contains a wide-ranging, in-depth interview that David Remnick conducted with the president on a series of occasions in the Oval Office and on flying with him on Air Force One. It basically had inside the mind of President Obama, I think is what they're calling it.
Access none of us can ever get.
None of us could ever dream of getting. Exactly, yeah. And some interesting things came out, but the president saying that he thinks pot is no more dangerous than alcohol.
Yeah. I want to take
have a beer, smoke a joint.
Yeah.
And one's legal and one's not. Why?
Well, I want to take a page from Ann Hornaday's book to start out here and say this is an interview best read and digested in the full New Yorker length with Remnick's writing. It's about an hour long to read it. It's a big, serious thing to get into, but this is a big screen piece. It really gets into the mind of Obama and really gets into what he's thinking about in the second term. But on the marijuana stuff, this is an area where people are really interested in seeing Obama have one of his signature evolutions, as he had with same-sex marriage. And this language, I think people who are supportive of legalization are grabbing onto and saying, he's coming our direction. But he also says, while he says, I smoke pot, I understand that there are sentencing inequities that go along with pot being illegal. I understand that this isn't that dangerous. I don't think it's that dangerous. Speaking a lot of the language of the legalization crowd, he also sticks to a kind of slippery slope mentality as well, which is that if we legalize pot, the next thing is what? Someone comes out and says, what about just a little bit of cocaine? What about just a little bit of meth? And these are the kind of arguments that oftentimes drive the pot legalization crowd completely crazy, right? Because if we're talking about science, having a scientific argument, then we should talk about science and not worry so much about slippery slopes or stuff like that. Yeah. So it's interesting to see how this is going to play out, because the president has done very little in terms of suggesting he wants a policy change on marijuana. They've done some stuff with enforcement. They've done some stuff with rhetoric about it. But they haven't done much at all about changing the way the country views it. I mean, it's a federal crime still, even in Colorado and Washington, where it's now legal for recreational use. You're a federal criminal if you're owning it and possessing it and using it and selling it. So as long as that's still happening, Obama still seems to be in support of that. He kind of worries about the experiments going on in those places. He says, they may not work out that well. So I think that there's a lot of people who are reading this marijuana language and seeing a president say things that are really unique for a president to say about marijuana. That's something we haven't seen said for a long time anyway. But it doesn't seem at this point to indicate any kind of change in policy by him.
He's not ready to say we want to legalize. I'm going to sponsor legislation to make it legal in all 50 states.
Right, but this is similar to the same-sex marriage thing.
I think he's evolving.
Right, it is similar. Like in the same-sex marriage, you start talking about how I have friends, and I realize this isn't as bad as I thought. Or maybe it doesn't have the impact I thought it was, and I start sort of building out. So
there we are. Evan, great to have you back. Thank you, man.
Thanks.
Evan McMorris-Santoro, BuzzFeed.com. And by the way, you can read the entire New Yorker piece online, too, at NewYorker.com.
Yep.
Or go out and buy the magazine. And I'll be back. Thanks, Evan, for coming in.
Absolutely.
I'll be back with today's parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
You know, there's a connection between the president's speech on NSA Friday and the Martin Luther King birthday today. Remember, while all Americans honor the memory of Martin Luther King, that wasn't the case during his lifetime. He was thrown in jail. People called him a communist. And J. Edgar Hoover actually ordered the FBI to bug his phone calls and to monitor his hotel rooms in order to try to get some dirt on him. Well, today the government's spying on all of us, not the FBI, of course, but the NSA. And Friday, even President Obama, a big defender of the NSA, had to admit the agency was going too far. Now, here's the connection. We only found out about Hoover's spying on Martin Luther King Jr. because a group of peace activists broke into FBI offices in Boston, and we only found out about the NSA's massive phone collection spying on all of us because Edward Snowden blew the whistle. We salute those peace activists today for exposing the FBI. Well, we ought to be saluting Edward Snowden, too, for exposing the NSA. That's my parting shot. Arthur Delaney and Igor Volsky join us tomorrow. Have a great Monday, folks. See you back here tomorrow morning.
This is the Bill Press Show.